The Obama administration has been screaming about what a wonderful job they did with Mr. Abdul-Muttalab without going to waterboarding. Well, listen to Bob Woodward's news this morning about the Christmas bomber, Abdul-Muttalab.
And this Christmas bomber, I mean, this is not out, but I will say it. What turns out that the Christmas bomber who they arrested and interrogated a little bit, and there's been a lot of justifiable criticism of why they didn't do this sooner.
Yes.
Turns out that the bomber has a phobia. He doesn't like Supermax. He doesn't like to be locked up 23 hours a day. In fact, he's so horrified by it, he's cooperating fully. They were lucky.
The reason Abdul-Muttalab is cooperating is not some exotic, fabulous FBI technique. He's a phobic. He has a phobia about being locked up 23 hours a day. And they say, okay, well, fine, we'll lock you up for 8. Listen now to Bathtub Boy last night demanding Dick Cheney be prosecuted.
In one exchange with both political and legal ramifications, Mr. Cheney not only says he opposed the end of waterboarding, and it was Mr. Bush, not Mr. Obama, who ended it, but also advances his vague past admission of approving so-called enhanced interrogations. This time comes right out and confirms years of reports that, yes, the vice president approved the commission of the war crime known as waterboarding.
Attorney General Eric Holder, should he be prosecuting Cheney?
What if the Attorney General now hears this and goes, I don't have any choice? Politically, we have to let the chips fall where they may. The man has come out and said, I was a great supporter of waterboarding, and yes, I lost the battle to stop waterboarding, which means he was the one who advocated for its continuance. Can Rahm Emanuel or the President of the United States stop him? Would Holder need to step down in protest if he couldn't get what he wanted in the way of a prosecution?
Well, from your lips to the President and Attorney General's minds, there doesn't seem to be any disposition there to do it. If it, however, there were that disposition, the only way, let's say, Holder could be stopped would be either persuaded by the president himself or Emanuel, or the president would have to fire him, and it would be in the sort of the league of the Saturday Night Massacre, where you stop a prosecution with extreme action, and that's not likely to happen. I think Holder wouldn't go that far.
You know, you ever wonder why John Dean was disbarred? Mr. Dean, may I remind you, the Attorney General's own Department of Justice has cleared the Bush lawyers in the torture memo probe. So the Attorney General could not be prosecuting Dick Cheney for a war crime that his own department has said wasn't a war crime. Joining me now, Liz Cheney, former Principal Deputy Secretary of State for Near East Affairs in the Bush administration, now on the board of Keep America Safe. That's keepamericasafe.com, and, of course, a daughter of the greatest vice president in recent American history. Liz, welcome to the program. It's good to have you back.
Great to be back. Appreciate it.
I got to ask you your reaction to two things. One is, maybe you didn't hear it, but Bob Woodward revealed this morning that the reason Mr. Abdul-Muttalab has been cooperating is he's a phobic.
Yeah, look, there's no way that they can explain or defend the treatment of this guy and the real incompetence and the decision to read him his Miranda rights after less than an hour. And so, you've seen him now scramble and come up with, a multitude of different attempts to divert attention or point finger blame someplace else. But at the end of the day, we had a terrorist attempt to blow up a plane with hundreds of people on it, and we hauled him off the plane and told him he had the right to remain silent. And I think the Obama administration knows that's not something the American people will accept.
This is Keith Olbermann interviewing John Dean about whether Dick Cheney is a war criminal. Listen.
I have this correct, don't I, that Dick Cheney just admitted to a war crime?
Well, he admitted to torture, which once was a war crime. I'm not quite sure after the Bush administration lawyers got finished with it that it was. At least he doesn't seem to believe it is. But by normal beliefs, it is a war crime.
I do understand, and I think most people understand, and I know you know, that the Obama administration Department of Justice has cleared Jay Bybee and John Yoo of those any possible charges arising from their memos, which say that what happened with waterboarding was not torture, therefore not a war crime. But what do you make of this business of these guys trying to gin up war crime charges against your father?
Well, I think it's I don't really make anything of it. And I think, frankly, when you play that tape, you increase, by factors of thousands the numbers of people who actually hear Keith Olbermann. Nobody watches him.
No.
And, I think it's a complete, it's just crazy. And, what we do know is that the enhanced interrogation program, which included waterboarding, wasn't torture. We know that the lawyers, the Justice Department, went through extensively, and if Keith Olbermann or John Dean would bother to read the memos that the lawyers wrote that explain in great detail where the line is and where treatment becomes torture and what has to be done to make sure that we are not violating the law or violating international treaties or standards. And the Obama administration, as you just pointed out, has said that these guys, basically they've reaffirmed this notion. And the program itself that we're talking about saved lives. It prevented terrorist attacks. We know that because of additional documents that were released, that talked about how much we learned from people like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and Abu Zubaydah who went through the program. So I think, I would come back to the real question for President Obama and Attorney General Holder is, if the United States finds itself tomorrow in a situation in which we have a terrorist in detention who's got information about an imminent attack, are you telling the American people all you're willing to do is ask him, pretty please tell us what you know, and by the way, you don't have to if you don't want to because we'll read you your Miranda rights, which is where we are today. Now, the left wing can go crazy and yell and scream and try to get people not to focus on that fact, but the vast majority of the American people expect their president to keep us safe. They expect the president to fight terrorists. They expect him to do it with every tool at his disposal, and they're getting increasingly fed up with President Obama, who clearly is not using every tool at his disposal if we're not able to effectively interrogate these terrorists.
It's in the Daily Beast. Peter Beinart is a left-wing guy writing it today, and he says that former Vice President Cheney, your father, doesn't really have an argument with the Obama administration. He says that his actual target is the Bush administration. It was the Bush administration that wanted to close Guantanamo and wanted to end enhanced interrogation techniques. What do you think of that angle?
I think it's overdone. I think my dad was direct on Sunday and saying there clearly were disagreements within the Bush administration. But I would point out that although President Bush said, he would like in ideal circumstances to be able to close Guantanamo, he didn't do it. He didn't make the announcement and make the policy decision, and that's because we need Guantanamo. So, I think, again, you see an awful lot of sort of backing and filling going on now. And I think it really is a diversion. I mean, if you look just at the way this administration dealt with the issue of terrorists from Yemen prior to the Christmas Day attack, people can see the history of a year of incompetence. And then after the attack, the President's counterterrorism advisor and his Homeland Security Secretary stood up in a briefing and said in January this year they were both surprised that al-Qaeda in Yemen was operational. And this is after the Fort Hood attack where the terrorist had ties to Yemen. It was after the Little Rock shooting where the terrorist had ties to Yemen. We sort of have gone through a situation where they shouldn't have been surprised. And then, you add on top of that, Secretary Napolitano saying that she was surprised in January this year, last month. She said she was surprised al-Qaeda would send individuals to attack us. And, the only thing you can think is she needs a newspaper subscription because, this is a method of operation that we've seen repeatedly for years now. And I really hope somebody asks her, why were you surprised? Why did you think they wouldn't send individuals against us? So it's just, there's a level of concern that's rising, whether Republicans or Democrats, and I think the administration ought to spend less time focused on the politics of it and more time on fixing the systems and some of the people inside the administration who are responsible for carrying out these policies.
Liz, it's always good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. I can hear people trying to call you. I appreciate you taking time. No, it's quite all right. I expect people are calling you all the time, and I'm glad you took time for us. Thanks very much.
The original Acid Tom.
There are still 7 words I can't say on the air, right?
It's John Gibson.